الله أحب لقاء يظل يجيء إلى.
Organizations who are working in the forefront. There are some also mashayikh and scholars. Please make dua for all of them. Ameen ya Rabb. Mashallah, we got it here. I just want to tell you before we can start. Do you see this? This is some of my pictures where I went last time to Qala'a Salahuddin in Jordan, in Ajloon. You've been there, right? This is a beautiful place. With a few of my friends, Sheikh Muhammad was one of those, mashallah. It was fabulous structure. I just want to tell you, the fortress of Salahuddin, that's what the name is. If you can see this, they used to use this place for fortress, for communication between different towers, how to fight the crusaders. And on top of that, they use this place for a university, a school to teach Muslim soldiers about war management. This is where we were, and this is where we are. So, and then this place was used for communication. Do you know how they used to communicate? When you go into the top tower of this, just like see at the back, I actually went all the way top with my friend. They used to send parrot from one tower to the other tower, and you can see the borders of Lebanon and Syria from top of this. And the parrot are from the origin. So let's say Lebanese parrot are being preserved here, and when you want to send a message, you will send through parrot. How? Yes, tie to his foot. And I asked a question. What was that question? If that parrot, instead of going to that destination, start going towards the enemy, what you will do? Right? You will use that technology. But subhanAllah, this is what, and I saw the inside, subhanAllah, the middle picture you see is where the soldiers will go, and they can attack outsiders or outsiders cannot attack them. This is how our Salahuddin Ayyubi defended the entire region, subhanAllah. Okay, let's go back. I will try to finish tonight, but it looks like it will be unrealistic, but I'll try to finish at least Salahuddin Ayyubi. If next Friday we are doing this, then we can discuss something about the last 100 years of history about Palestine and Israel, inshallah. Okay, so far we discussed about how they massacred Muslims. And remind me at the end if I didn't tell you, if you didn't attend today's khutbah, this is how they behaved when they were dealing with our kids, right? This is how they behaved when they were dealing with our women. And when you mention about Salahuddin, you will see how he treated the woman and the infants of the crusader. When we'll mention him, you will see that. And that's actually was relevant to today, subhanAllah. Hostages are treated badly. Videos have come out. 40 kids are being beheaded. Videos have come out. It's an AI thing. But what is not AI is actually the pictures from the Palestine. Subhanallah. So, may Allah protect all of us. Ameen ya Rab. Okay. When Jerusalem went, and slowly and gradually Edessa will also go, then how the Islamic movement will start. That's very important for us in America. If we want to respond to any zulm happening on Ummah, we have to understand it's not an individual issue, it's an Ummah issue. Do we agree? Hanabla, Shafi, Maliki, Hanafi, Ahlul Hadith, it's all of our issue. It's not about me versus them. If it's our issue, then we have to learn how the resistance movement started at the time of Crusaders. First Crusader came, they attacked, and they attacked including Edessa. And now first ideological movement started. Before we can even talk about scholarly and politicians get involved. Ideological. And actually this was started slowly and gradually even before Crusaders came. The seed was there. So now Sunni Muslims, they were divided. I told you in fiqh and theological issues, and Fatimis were trying to attack Sunnis. By the way, Fatimis were in? Who was Fatimis? They were Ismailis. Who are Ismailis? They are offshoots of the Shia. Shia say, you are not Shia, but Ismailis say, we are Shia. Let's just remember. How I know so much about Ismaili? Because I was Ismaili. And Farooq Amlani, Farooq bhai, can you raise hand? He was Ismaili also. He's my cousin. He just converted, alhamdulillah, almost just means 30 years ago, alhamdulillah. Bhabhi is here, Farooq bhai? Okay, Sister Hina, if you can raise hand also, she's also convert, mashallah. My wife is also convert from Ismaili. We all became, alhamdulillah, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But this is not important for you. Right now, Salahuddin is important. They used to lead Egypt. Another interesting thing, Al-Azhar University, famous Al-Azhar University. You know why it was built? So that Ismailis can get training. It was built by Ismailis, so Ismailis can get training and they can come to Baghdad and other Muslim places and convert the Sunnis. You don't know this? Google. Don't even buy a book from Amazon. That's expensive, right? Wallahu musta'an. This is happening. Intellectually, attack is coming. Ideological attack is coming from outside, from inside. And then there was a movement that started. It started from many different people. Let's say Nizamul Mulk, a politician. He says we have to bring unity. And then he got intellectual thinker in the form of Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, put up the map of intellectual uniformity that, okay, you are Shafi, I am Hanbali, this is acceptable strands of Islam. We all are mainstream Sunni. Get united so that we can counter the attacks. Is it clear? This idea, okay, you can keep your disagreement as long as we are primarily agreeing on primary things, this actually came from that time zone. Then this continues. Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, Hanbali or Shafi'i? Hanbali. He was part of this. Muwaffaq al-Ibn Qudama, Maqdisi. He was Hanbali. Hanabla would not have been on the list right now on the map if Ibn Qudama was not there. All of these are basically the products of this revival movement. They came with intellectual mentality that we are one ummah even though we have a disagreement. You are Hanbali, you are Hanafi, you are Shafi, you are Maliki. All of this is acceptable if primarily we agree on the few things. Ideologically, we are one. Okay, so this was basically ideological start of this movement. And they established madaris. This is the most important. Nizam al-Mulk started the madrasa in Nizarpur and then in Baghdad. He appointed Imam Ghazali to be the president of that madrasa. Then these madrasas, what was these madrasas? These madrasas were intellectual schools. People will go there, they will become intellectually strong. Why these madrasas are important, these schools are important for Salahuddin? Any idea? Salahuddin need to unite everyone before fight the Crusaders, right? How you will unite when intellectually we are divided? These madaris will play a huge part in intellectual unity. Secondly, where Salahuddin will get the administrator help? These madaris. Most of the close administrative people who worked with Salahuddin actually were graduates of this madaris, subhanAllah. And they were students of Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Just remember this. When these madaris started creating ideological unity, then from Iraq, a guy took this formula of these schools for intellectual unity to Syria. Who was that guy? Who was that guy? MashaAllah, which Zangi? Nuruddin. Nuruddin had a huge significance. Nuruddin took it and the same formula, intellectual unity, open madaris, open school for intellectual unity. FII, some of the madaris now or seminaries now when you open, they cause some division. Because they will say we are right, all other flavors of Islam are wrong. Unfortunately, now back in the days they were opening madaris because it will bring more intellectual unity. Wallah al-Musta'an. Then these madaris were so popular, they were giving results so quickly that someone took from Syria, from Nuruddin to Egypt. Who was that? Salahuddin Ayyubi. The way he got help as a Kurdish to become a wazir, so let's say a huge minister in Egypt, is because he got help from these madaris. He got people getting ready out of these madaris. I don't even want to call graduates. They're people who were connected with these madaris. So remember this, there is an ideological movement is coming, which is resistance, which is, let's say, we are united. So basically that unity or that spark came from this ideological madaris movement. Then at the scholarly level, when the Jerusalem was taken away, politicians were busy in fighting within themselves. SubhanAllah, when one of the scholars went to two of the Seljuk sons, one was Ridwan, the other was Daqqaq. Radwan was leading one side of Aleppo, the Daqqaq was leading the other side of Damascus. And this scholar said that Crusaders are attacking at our backyard, we should do something. You know what Ridwan said? Ridwan said, I'm busy right now. I want to take my brother's land first and then I will go with you. And they were both Muslims, by the way. This is what we were dealing with. So second, after ideological movement, the second movement which came that we should do something was a scholarly level. There were scholars who came, and one of the scholars was Ali ibn Tahir as-Sulami. Write his name. You might not find his Facebook following, but if we have to give credit to any scholar to produce ideological unity factor, it was Ali Tahir as-Sulami. He passed away 7-8 years after the first crusade, so he didn't get a chance to meet Salahuddin also. But he wrote a book at that time when Jerusalem was taken away. Which book? Kitabul Jihad. Kitabul Jihad. And he says primarily three things in his book. He says first, that we Muslims, we should not consider this incident as an isolated incident. Europe wanted to take revenge from us for a long time. They took Andalus, they took Spain, they took Sicily, they took North Africa, and this is part of the series of the attacks. Because you politicians, he's saying this, you politicians, you are thinking that this is just the isolated attack by Eastern Christians. No, this is from the Western Europe. They are coming after finishing the Muslims in the West. Take them seriously. So that's the first thing. SubhanAllah, this is also a fun fact. Do you realize now how important it is for the scholars to get politically involved and be knowledgeable? Wallahu musta'an. Secondly, he said our biggest reason why Jerusalem was taken away from us, coming from the pen of a scholar, not from Imam Asif, coming from the pen of genuine scholar. Biggest reason why Jerusalem was taken away in his book Kitab al-Jihad is because of our internal conflicts. We are not united. We are busy in fighting with ourselves at different level, multilateral disagreements. And third, he said, if you want to get Jerusalem, you have to get it back through the means of, what was the name of the book? Kitabul Jihad. So now I know some of you have 9/11 post-traumatic experience that by using the word jihad, it's break your wudu. I know sometimes it have that. But see, Israel have a right to defend themselves, right? And we cannot use the word jihad. But Israel have a right to defend themselves. But we cannot use the word jihad. Did you see the hypocrisy? Israel have a right to defend themselves. But we can use. Allahu musta'an. Allahu musta'an. This is, inshallah, we'll discuss. There is an Orientalist movement which is working hard to demonize the concept of jihad. So that when Muslims won't even use the word, forget about defending themselves. People are abusing, let them abuse. And if they will try to defend themselves, we will say, no, jihad is bad. Dude, we are trying to defend ourselves. No, jihad is bad. And they can defend themselves. So anyway, so he said this is the reason. If you want to get Jerusalem back, we all need to engage in these three things. Okay. Then there were military revivalists came. Salahuddin was actually the last person who came in that. Now we don't have time for discussing all those, so I'll be very quick. If you'll allow me to just skip a few details, inshallah, okay? The first person who came, and actually most of the books missed his name, subhanallah, who should be mentioned, was actually Mawdud ibn at-Tuntash. Mawdud, it's not Maulana Maududi rahimahullah. Maulana Maududi came in 19th, 20th century, right? It's Mawdud ibn at-Tuntash. He passed away actually 14 years after the first crusade. So he didn't even get a chance to see Salahuddin Ayyubi. But why he's significant? He was the one fighter who basically said, we cannot win alone. Let's get together. Damascus and Mosul need to get united to fight against Crusader. So he brought the idea that alone we cannot fight this entire Crusaders. We have to get united. So the idea of getting united, different cities working together, was actually the idea which was implemented by Mawdud, initiated by the scholar Ali Tahir as-Sulami. Just remember this. And I'm just skipping a lot of details. By the way, after one victory in the conflict with the Crusaders, he went out. How he got assassinated? Mawdud. Insider. We don't need outsiders. We are self-destructive people. Fatimids, Batini. In Damascus, he was praying Salah and he was fasting, and a person came. Psh. We don't need outsiders. You see in our community, do we outsiders? In IANT and Epic and Valley Ranch Masajid, we don't need outsiders. We have our insider people who can destroy our image and protocol, everything. Wallahu musta'an. So it was a big loss for Muslim community, big loss for Muslim community. I don't know anything about Dallas community, I just moved, so give me benefit of doubt. Wallahu musta'an. But this internal elements is a long, long history for us as Islam, subhanallah. Okay, let's move. Then comes Imaduddin Zangi. Imaduddin Zangi was a father of Nuruddin Zangi. He was working for Seljuks. His biggest achievement, which is Arab historians would say this is Fath al-Futuh. This is victory of the victories what Imaduddin Zangi got. And Nuruddin and Salahuddin just continued the mission of or the legacy of Imaduddin. Imaduddin worked in the same ideology as Maudud. We have to work together to get the Crusaders out of Jerusalem. First thing, Imaduddin, or the victory of Imaduddin, where people of the historians have remembered Imaduddin, is the victory of Edessa. He took Edessa back from Crusaders. He said, Mosul and everyone we have to get united and we have to get Edessa back. And they got it after a long fight. So this was considered as victory of the victories by the historians, because Edessa was extremely important by the way. Not only rich, but even from the strategic standpoint, from financial standpoint, from location standpoint, it was very crucial. It was very close to Baghdad capital also. So Imaduddin Zangi got Edessa in 1144, and you know what will happen. Imaduddin Zangi got Edessa, and now it's a big blow. It's a turning point, by the way, for Crusaders. Remember this. When he got Edessa, like a slap on Crusaders, what will going to happen? They will prepare for another crusade. That we have lost, so now we need another army from Europe so that we can get Edessa back. Okay? So they send another army, and in the meanwhile, you will have Imaduddin Zangi, who will going to die, and then his son Nuruddin Zangi will come. He didn't die with this tragedy, but very future that is coming with other great people also. Okay, then comes Nuruddin Zangi. He became a superstar because of the Second Crusade. Second Crusaders came, and this is interesting. By the way, some people in our history give more importance to Nuruddin Zangi than Salahuddin, because it was Nuruddin idea overall, and he couldn't flourish, and then Salahuddin actually completed that idea, especially Ibn al-Athir. I know, subhanAllah, I don't want to make this an academic discussion, but sometimes you will see some of the historians who are going to mention there was a beef between Salahuddin and Nuruddin. Have you heard this? This coming from Ibn Athir. And Ibn Athir was a Zangit historian. Obviously, he had a bias towards Nuruddin. So because Salahuddin came and got Zangid Empire later on, so he won't like Salahuddin that much. So sometimes you will see that in his writings, Nuruddin is exaggerated and Salahuddin was, because he was from Zangid Empire. And the second who basically did that there was a beef between Salahuddin and Nuruddin, was a Shia historian, Ibn Atiyah. Obviously, Shia will always going to hate Salahuddin. Why? Because Salahuddin was the one who finished Shiaism from the entire northern Africa. So why they would love them? And that's why they would say that Salahuddin and Nuruddin had beef and so on and so forth. I know that we should not romanticize, but we should not demonize our great people also. We should keep balance between both. Sometimes Western historians, they just think critically, and sometimes Eastern historians lack critical thinking. So we need to have balance of both. Okay, coming back to Nuruddin. So one of the things about Nuruddin Zangi is that he made goal of his life that I have to free Jerusalem. And he was so confident that I was going to get Jerusalem that in his lifetime he actually made a mimbar. In Syria, he says, he ordered that a mimbar should be made, that when I was going to conquer or free Jerusalem, I will install this mimbar. Can you imagine how confident you will be? Subhanallah, that you will do this. Anyway, when the Franks came for the Second Crusade, where they attacked? They attacked actually Damascus. They said Damascus is very important, heart of Syria, let's take that. Nuruddin Zangi was just the Amir of Aleppo at that time. The guy who was the Amir of the Damascus there, he was basically friend of Crusaders. And that's why he actually wrote to Nuruddin, and I was surprised they came to their friend to attack. So he asked, his name was Mujiruddin, by the way. So he was surprised that I'm your friend and you are attacking Damascus. So he wrote a letter to Nuruddin, I need your help. And guess what happened? Nuruddin came. Nuruddin first went. He took his brother Saifuddin from Mosul because he had the same ideology. I have to unite everyone and then to fight. More people from here, people from here, people from there. And then they attacked and protect Damascus, alhamdulillah. And Crusaders lost second crusade, and Muslims were able to defend their Damascus. Again, this was a big blow on the face of Crusaders. Did you see something? Unity, unity, unity. Okay, now Nuruddin emerges as hero, right? Now Nuruddin realized, by the way, how old was Salahuddin when the second crusade happened? 12, mashallah, very close, 12 years old. He was 12 years old, so he's still not participating in the second crusade. But he's living in that environment that everyone is talking about, taking back Jerusalem, getting united. So basically that's coming in his genes. Okay, this is for second crusade, and Nuruddin emerges as hero. Now we will going to come and discuss actually about Salahuddin, inshallah ta'ala. Now we are starting about Salahuddin, okay? Okay, Salahuddin Ayyubi. He was born in 1137. When the first crusade happened, when the Jerusalem was taken? 1099. And he was born in 1137. So almost around 38, 39, 40 years after. Okay? By the way, in 1137, a woman, she was pregnant, and she saw in her dream that in her belly she have swords from the sword of Allah. Later on, that found out that that was the mother of Salahuddin Ayyubi. Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Similarly, his father, Najmuddin, his father used to say that when he was born, Muslims were struggling, and we lost a barrel when he was born around that time, a small barrel. And I was very pessimistic about my son. One of the army guys told me, don't worry, be optimistic, perhaps he will become one of the kings of Ummah. Subhanallah. You never know what your kids will do. Subhanallah. Always have the trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Was he an Arab or Kurdish? Kurdish. So that, subhanallah, again, I don't know when this racism will end in our Ummah. Because he became a hero now, so some of the Arab historians will do jihad fi sabilillah to prove that actually he have a lineage from the Arabs. When Pakistani, Arab, Saudi, Egyptian, Kurdish, we all are one Ummah. This was the reason of our demise and decline. But anyways, Kurdish. And that's why subhanallah, some of the contemporaries, people, would label Salahuddin from Syria and Damascus as a dog. For the same reason, we'll discuss it. Not always your contemporary will going to accept you, because the jealousy is a factor. Okay, so he was a Kurdish, and he was one of the most influential leader. By the way, do you know the title Khadim al-Haramain Sharifain? Khadim al-Haramain Sharifain, the custodian of the two holy mosques. Who got the title for the first time? Salahuddin Ayyubi. Khadim al-Haramain Sharifain. Now obviously someone else got the title. I don't know about his khidmah, but Khadim al-Haramain Sharifain. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite us. Ameen ya Rab. Salahuddin Ayyubi achieved so much in his life. So much. Now this is a quiz question. How old he was when he died? No, Hibban, I know you know. Okay, tell me, Sheikh Hibban. Tell me. Tell me, Sheikh Hibban. 50? Oh, very close. 55. 55. Can you imagine? Great Salahuddin Ayyubi did what he did, 55 years, freed Jerusalem, and passed away. Subhanallah. What you are doing with your life, man? Habibi, tell me. Imam Ghazali, 55. Imam Shafi, 53. Imam Nawawi, 44. These are giants of our ummah. What you are doing? Making videos on TikTok. And you think you are making an impact. You are, but I don't know if it's a positive impact or not. Wallahu al-musta'an. I'm not saying don't make a video on TikTok. We need influencers. But we need influencers who can influence others, not the people who are influenced by the Western civilization. Okay. His father's name was Najmuddin, his uncle name was Asaduddin. Both of them are very important for Salahuddin. By the way, fun fact, what was his real name? Yusuf, mashallah. We don't have time to discuss that, but this is significantly important. Yusuf alayhi salam became king of Egypt. And then Salahuddin Ayyubi is going to become king of Egypt. And then he will ask his father from Syria, Najmuddin, can you come? And then when his father comes, he will ask the Khalifa of Egypt at that time that come out to receive my dad. And when the entire Egypt will go, because they were fan of Salahuddin. So when the father and the son were going to meet, the historians would remind that this is reminding us of Yusuf meeting with Yaqub in Egypt. After a long time when they were united. And actually they recited the ayah, فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُفَ آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَبَوَيْهِ وَقَالَ أُدْخُلُوا مِصْرَ إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ آمِنِينَ. They recited this ayah. But anyway, come back to Salahuddin Ayyubi at this point. So his family came from Mosul. He served under Imaduddin Zangi. And basically, if you want to say in today's term, he was the personal secretary of Nuruddin Zangi in today's term. That's the term used by Dr. Ali Sallabi in his book. He was the personal secretary of Nuruddin Zangi. So he was born in the family of fighters, politically active, and raised in Damascus. And then he was serving Nuruddin Zangi, a superstar, who had one goal, to free Jerusalem. So politically, military training from the childhood, you will get people like Salahuddin. By the way, just fun fact, according to few reports, like in one of the books on Nawadar Sultaniya, it was mentioned that Salahuddin Ayyubi in young age, in his teenage, was not very practicing. Right? And this just reminds all the brothers and sisters, you can do a biggest service to the ummah, even though right now you're not practicing. First come close to Islam, and then try to make a name that you will bring benefit to the ummah. Never become disappointed with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can still serve the ummah. Come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. He learned Islamic education. By the way, he was a hafiz of the Quran. But he was not a scholar. Some people exaggerate. No, he was a scholar of hadith. No, he was not a scholar. He was not a scholar. But he memorized the Quran. He studied few hadiths and fiqh. At that time, it was a trend in the madaris. But he diversified his portfolio of intellectual background, that he was well versed in archery, in hunting, in horsemanship, in arts of war, in geometry. So he was basically living in a political active house. Like some of you got internship in the White House, let's say, for a long time. He was doing that with Nuruddin. It feels like that he got these things from his environment and family background, these three things. First, the importance of unity within the ummah. Second, one goal in life, that's freeing Jerusalem. That was his goal. And third, we have to fight with crusaders to take the Jerusalem back. These were the three things he got from his family background. And that was basically the environment. There was a vibe in that time. By the way, Nuruddin Zangi saw a talent in Salahuddin. That's why he actually hunted that talent. Remember this. Adults in our community, elders in our community, if you want next Salahuddin to come, I ask you, how many of you are Nuruddin who can hunt Salahuddin? Forget about Salahuddin. Do we have any Nuruddin in community? This is a very important question. And before Nuruddin, do we have any Imaduddin who can raise kids like Nuruddin? They all are connected, subhanAllah. Okay. Subhanallah, we don't have time. 9:06. Should I tell? Sabur, where are you? How many of you want me to continue this next Friday? Or how many of you want me to finish this tonight? Huh? Next Friday? How many of you want me to finish tonight? Just quickly.
How long it takes?
Oh, it will take at least 45 minutes. Yeah. And I promised you around 9:30 with Q&A. So I'll just brief it down. And then inshallah on the Sunday class we can finish. Inshallah, okay? Allah understand. Let's do this, inshallah. So he came to Egypt. First of all, so Nuruddin Zangi, he realized that in order to get Jerusalem, coming back to that, what we need to do, we need to bring Egypt in our control, because Egypt is a hub of Fatimid Caliph and they would always rebel. They would never get united under us to fight with Crusaders. So we need to bring them within our belt. So, and at the same time, Crusaders knew if we get Egypt, we get everything, because Egypt was powerful. Egypt was actually a gateway to Makkah, Medina, and Hijaz. So Crusaders tried to aim for Egypt, which is run by Fatimid Caliph Ismaili, and Egyptian final Fatimid Caliph Al-Adid. He wrote to Nuruddin Zangi, even though they had beef, they said, I want you to come, I want you to send the army, because Crusaders are coming. So they are seeking help. Just fun fact, when they came, the second tier leadership of Egypt, the second tier leadership of Egypt, they wrote a letter to Crusader, Nuruddin is coming, so we need your help. Khalifa was asking them to come, and this happened 3 times. 3 attempts Nuruddin made. By the way, he sent whom to go to Egypt? Salahuddin, no. Salahuddin was just at the part, Salahuddin's uncle, Asaduddin Shirku, and Salahuddin was just accompanying them, and he was 17 years old to Egypt. First time they went, second time they went, we don't have time to all the historical facts, and then third time they went, and then there was a zulm which Ismailis were making. I don't have time, subhanAllah, but I'll just tell you a few. You know, whenever the ummah is going through the crisis, even our times, you will see fake Mahdis. On YouTube, Imam Mahdi is coming out. I just actually found out last week a Mahdi came out from Pakistan. No, Uqsimu Billah, I found out. I saw the video. He says, I'm Mahdi. And then he says, I don't pray 5 times a day. Dude, I mean, Habibi, Mahdi can mean Hidayah. You don't have Hidayah. How can you be Mahdi, right? Allah, there are at least 40 Mahdi came from Abbasid until today, the famous Mahdi, who are default frauds. In the Egypt, there was a person called Ubaidullah Mahdi. He said, I'm a Mahdi, and he exploited people financially. And what they did was phenomenal zulm and oppression. They added, they first of all abused Abu Bakr and Umar and Aisha radiallahu anhum, and then they said that this word need to be added in azan, hayya ala al-khayr al-amal, that come towards the good deed. And one Sunni Muazzin, he says, no, I cannot add this. This is not proven from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Ubaidullah Mahdi asked his army to basically cut his sword, cut his tongue, and to put his tongue on his forehead, and to make sure that everyone see in the Egypt. And then they murdered him. So then the Maliki scholars in the Egypt, they said, whatever they are asking you, say in the azan. So to save your life and save your religion. You might think at this point, if a Maliki scholar is giving permission to add in the azan, he's a sellout. But you don't know the wisdom. He's saying this is a lesser of the 2 evils. At least they will let us pray with this, adding this in azan. So you have to understand the local dynamics when you gauge the fatwa of the people also. Wallahu musta'an. They put a ban of anyone who will be teaching Muwatta Imam Malik, because that was flourishing. And they would punish people. Sometimes they did in Egypt who would do that. By the way, Salahuddin came, he started slowly and gradually, he captured Egypt. I don't have time, subhanAllah, otherwise it will take a longer discussion. Long story short, he captured Egypt, and then there was assassination attempts. Then he converted Fatimid Caliph to the Abbasid Caliph, bring it under the Abbasid Caliph. How? It's a longer discussion. Slowly and gradually, the Sunni community in the Egypt, they realized that now Salahuddin, we need to help him. When Crusaders' danger fell, then the uncle of the Salahuddin became Wazir, and as soon as he became Wazir, within 2 months he died. Al-Adid, the final Caliph of Fatimid, he said, I am selecting your nephew, which is Salahuddin, as the Amir of Egypt. Why? Why he selected Salahuddin? Oh, mashallah, Hibban. Because he thought he's young, so he can easy to handle. Just like Hibban, you are young, your dad can easily handle you, right? Similarly, he thought Al-Adid was 21 years old, by the way. Salahuddin was 31. So he said he's young, I can easily handle. He's like a yes boss kind of a person. He don't know what he was dealing with, Salahuddin Ayyubi. So, but eventually Salahuddin started controlling everything slowly and gradually. He started getting support from the base, from the local community. He had mentors like Al-Qadi Al-Fadil, who was a scholar, who was mentor of Salahuddin Ayyubi. Long story short, he stopped giving khutbahs at the name of Fatimid Khalif. This was a trend, by the way. If you have a Khalifa, you will say in the khutbah his name. And then later on, 1 week down the road, he started giving khutbahs on the name of Abbasid Khalif. And Al-Adid, the Khalifa, was under so much stress, and then very soon, 21 years old final Caliph will die. How he will die? Some of you might think the Salahuddin must have killed. That's what Western Orientalist argument is. When Salahuddin came to know that he died, you know what he said? He said to Al-Qadi Al-Fadil scholar, if I knew that he would die, I would have delayed this for a few weeks to stop giving khutbah on his name. Al-Qadi Al-Fadil said, if you would have done, he wouldn't have died. Wallah al-Mustan, we don't know the reality. But in politics, you know, subhanAllah, it's different than how we see things from the fiqhi perspective. Now, Salahuddin Ayyubi is basically leading the Egypt. Few months down the road, Nuruddin dies. And then Nuruddin dies. Now what happens? There's a discussion, who will going to be next Khalifa? Nuruddin left one of the son, 11-year-old, who will be the Khalifa. Now 11-year-old is a minor, right? How he can, forget about Jerusalem, how he can even manage his own diapers, let's say. 11-year-old. So now, there was in charge his uncle, that until he will grow, he will be the in charge. And you know what will happen? Power struggle. Uncle said, I will have a bigger slice of the power. And then Crusaders found this, they attacked the Syria again. Salahuddin was thinking, now after conquering Egypt, me, under the leadership of Nuruddin, we will go and attack Jerusalem. Nuruddin dies, and now there is an internal rebels happening for power struggle in Syria, in Damascus, in everywhere, where Zangi dynasty was there. Now, even Salahuddin made coins named on his son. He agreed that you will be the next Khalifa. But now he realized that either I can focus on my goal of getting Jerusalem, or I have to just surrender to this family who is showing mess, and we will go back to square one. He says, we don't worship individual, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wrote to Abbasid Khalifa in Baghdad that I don't think so these guys are deserving for controlling, I'm taking in charge of everything. Abbasid Khalifa gave him green light. And he says, okay. He went to the Syria and Damascus, and he says, you guys are coming under my leadership, and we are all going towards the Jerusalem. Will they accept the Muslims in Damascus and Syria, the family of Nuruddin? No. And that's where Nuruddin took some time to convince them. You know how much time he took? Salahuddin said that I had more arguments with Muslim than the non-Muslim. Subhanallah, wallahu mustaan. It took almost 11 to 12 years for Nuruddin, lots of effort, lots of sacrifice. 2 assassination attempts happened in this time. One where his face got hit, lot of backstabbing, where some of the Muslims called him dog, that you are barking in Nuruddin's family. He is the one who made you Salahuddin, and now you are taking in charge of everything. He said, no, my goal is to get Jerusalem. And you guys are not handling it properly because Crusader already attacked in this internal chaos. And some of the Muslims in this 12 year got help from Crusaders against Salahuddin. After 12 years, after a lot of struggle, now Salahuddin became Salahuddin. He have Syria, he have Damascus, he have Egypt, he have Mosul. Khalifa is okay with him. Khalifa is already there for only barakah reason. Now he can do what? Now he can basically fulfill his mission, which is Jerusalem. Is this clear? I just cut off many details because I want to finish this. Okay. Then comes the famous and the most decisive battle, the Battle of Hattin. Muslims are united and are ready for Jerusalem, and they can't waste time because now you have a big army coming from all different backgrounds, and to manage the big army from different backgrounds is not easy. So if the longer time you will take, they will get again into their own cliques. remember this, there was a person called Renaud de Chatillon. Renaud de Chatillon. Why this person is important? Again, subhanAllah. Internal rebels, internal conflicts. You remember those 12 years Salahuddin took to unite everyone? Within these 12 years, Renaud de Chatillon, he was a crusader. He actually got arrested, and for 15 years, he was in the prison in Syria. And our Muslim guys, because they did not want to work with Salahuddin, they freed few prisoners so that they can get help from crusaders to fight Salahuddin. And one of those prisoners which they free was Renaud de Chatillon. This is important person, Renaud de Chatillon. He came out of the prison after 15 years, but he still have beef against Islam. He said two things, which actually lead to the Battle of Hattin. It basically laid the groundwork. First thing he says, I will going to destroy Kaaba. I will going to destroy Kaaba. Second thing he said, that I will going to take out the body of Prophet Muhammad from his grave, and I'll bring it back to Europe, and I'm going to charge Muslims to see that body. Did he cross his lines? When Salahuddin heard this, he said this, Wallahi, I was going to kill him from my sword. What he said? Wallahi, I was going to kill him from my sword. And by the way, just remember, Salahuddin is the most compassionate ruler. You might think Salahuddin with just battles, we'll see this final ending. You'll see how compassionate he was. But he's saying, for Renaud de Chatillon, I will kill him from my sword. And then second time when Renaud de Chatillon actually tried to intercept the caravan for Hajj, and when other reports he was trying to intercept the caravan of Muslims, merchant, businessmen, and they took them as captives. When Salahuddin heard this, he broke the truce, he broke the contract, and then he says, second time, I was going to kill him from my sword. By the way, this created a groundwork for Battle of Hattin. Remember when even crusaders are going to the Battle of Hattin, this was the time when crusaders are intellectually very weak and ideologically very weak. They are not the first generation who came and conquered the Jerusalem. With ideology, one of the things which will happen, a movement or ideology will going to become weak after a few decades. So second, third, fourth generation will come crusaders. Now they are more complacent. They don't want to fight as with the same spirit. And the Muslims are coming with a new spirit. So that's also one of the reasons. Muslims have 12,000 army for this Battle of Hattin, and crusaders were 20,000 almost. They started fight, and crusaders realized that we were going to lose this because Muslims' spirit was very high. As soon as Muslim won, you know what's the first thing which Salahuddin did? What is the first thing? He updated Facebook status, right? What is the first thing he did? He did sajda shukr. It's not because of me, it's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said in his Battle of Hattin, this shows the caliber of the men. He was the Sultan of the Muslim Ummah at that time. He said to the army, when they were praising him, he says, قَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تُقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ. Fight for the way of Allah, do not fight for my sake. I'm nothing. We are here for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to learn from Salahuddin. We don't have to idolize our individuals and people, and whether they are in military or from the scholarship perspective. By the way, after the victory, what happened? Salahuddin asked for two people to be brought in his camp. Who were those two people? Renaud de Chatillon, and then the guy who was leading the this Battle of Hattin, the King Guy. That was his name, King Guy. These two people were brought to Salahuddin in his camp. You know what Salahuddin said? Salahuddin gave a cold water to this King Guy. He drank the cold water, and he did what? He gave it to Renaud de Chatillon. And Renaud de Chatillon drank from it. And when Salahuddin saw this, Salahuddin became super angry to King Guy. He says, I didn't give him. Why did you give him without my permission? Because giving water is like giving security, giving amnesty. So the guy immediately stayed away. Salahuddin told Renaud de Chatillon, and now he's talking after the battle. He says, I am now representing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in front of you. Tell me, what did you say about him? This is a real warrior of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? I am actually representing Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in front of you. Tell me, what did you say? Do you accept Islam? He asked. Look at the compassion. Look at the compassion. He refused. And when he refused, what happened? Salahuddin fulfilled his promise. He immediately took out his sword. He first hit his shoulder, and then the rest of his friends or his army did the work. What happened when Rinaldi Chatillon saw his destiny? What will happen to King Guy now? He'll be scared. Salahuddin told the King Guy, I won't do anything to you. Kings don't kill kings. I killed Rinaldi Chatillon because he insulted my prophet. Subhanallah. Look at the compassion. He didn't become emotional and he said, okay, I'm going to kill dozens of it. This is our legacy, subhanallah. We are very abiding by the rules people. Okay, this is how the Battle of Hattin ended. Then Battle of Hattin ended, now it opened the door for Jerusalem. So Salahuddin took the Muslim army and they went to conquer, or free, not conquer, free the Jerusalem. Initially, the Crusaders who were closed the doors of Jerusalem, some figures say there were 600,000. They were inside. They're not fighting, they were just staying there. And they had 5,000 Muslims as captives within the Jerusalem gates. Initially, they didn't want to give up, but now they lost the battle. They don't have any option. Salahuddin is coming with big army. Now, what happened? That at that point, they realized that now let's make a peace treaty with Salahuddin so that he won't do the massacre here. They are afraid. So they send people. Do you know what Crusaders did for the first time when they conquered Jerusalem? You remember that, right? They were afraid, what our ancestors did. And this is 87 years after. First crusade was 1099, this is happening in 1087. So they send a request to Salahuddin, let's make a peace treaty, don't kill us. Whatever you need, we'll give you. You know what Salahuddin said in the beginning? Salahuddin said, I don't need peace treaty, I will do the exactly same thing what you did with Muslims 87 years ago. Subhanallah. Then they went back, and then they came back again, and they said, if you are not making peace treaty, we are going to kill all of Crusaders inside, our women, our kids, including 5,000 Muslims inside. Make peace treaty. And then we were going to damage Jerusalem and Masjid al-Aqsa also. So then, actually Salahuddin said, okay, let's have a peace treaty. And then they had a peace treaty. And now Salahuddin became Salahuddin in the Western countries with these incidents. What's coming now? Now listen to this. Salahuddin agreed to grant them safety for Jerusalem, from Jerusalem. He agreed Crusaders can pay ransom and leave. You know what was the amount Crusaders have to pay? 10 dirham for the men. Nothing. 10 dirham for the men, 5 dirham for the women, 4 dirham for the kids. Okay? You can pay and you can leave. Within them, older people, they did not have anything to pay. Salahuddin announced, you can leave without paying anything. Subhanallah. Now there are a few incidents happen, and I just want to tell you what we Muslims, how we do these things. One English writer wrote that this was a Muslim king, Salahuddin, who was teaching tolerance to the Christians. Subhanallah. Salahuddin entered into the Jerusalem on which date? Do you know? Oh, when Rasulullah ﷺ went to Aqsa for Mi'raj, 27th of Rajab, according to some reports, right? Not all. Coincidentally, Salahuddin entered into Jerusalem to free Jerusalem on 27th of Rajab, subhanallah. When he entered, now I just want to tell you in the conclusion who was Salahuddin. Some Crusaders said that we want to, after paying you the jizya, after paying you the 10 dirham, we want to stay in the Jerusalem, and Salahuddin allowed them. Subhanallah. Your enemy, but you can okay stay, no worries. Secondly, he brought the mimbar which Nuruddin made. He says, now bring the mimbar, and now we'll install that mimbar. By the way, at the time of freeing of Jerusalem, they did a big celebration, and big scholars throughout the world came and attend, including Ibn Qudama Hanbali. The entire family came. We are reading in book club his book, by the way. He also came in Salahuddin's conquest of Jerusalem. When this happened and this news reached to Europe, that Jerusalem took, Salahuddin took back Jerusalem, what was going to happen? Just summarize. They were going to send someone for the third crusade, right? but it was a failed experience, because most of the people who would leave the Europe at this time, because of multiple bad incidents, half of them will reach, half of them will going to have something happens, disasters, they were going to be robbed, half of them will leave before coming there. So very few people actually was able to come. Even there was a big number. And then they had a fight. It was a big fight. And then the guy who came for the third crusade, his name was Richard. His name was, who was leading. It was a very funny story, subhanAllah. In the fight, now they are fighting, Richard and the crusaders are fighting Muslims for the third crusade to take back Jerusalem. They couldn't. During the fight, something happened to Richard. His horse fell and he is on the floor now. Now what Salahuddin did? Salahuddin said, go my Muslim army and give my 2 horses to Richard. Why? Some people say it's a political move to show that whom you are fighting, man. Look at my generosity. You will be loser if you will fight me. And then obviously for our perspective, because we don't disassociate Islam and ethics and Prophet Muhammad from Salahuddin, we are not Western Orientalists. So we say that he said this, Salahuddin himself, that king without the horse and king on the floor is not a king. Let him use my horse. But that was intellectually to win the hearts of the people. Then a woman incident. What they did with our kids when they announced, listen to this. Christian lady in the Richard's army, she lost her son. Some people say that actually some of the Muslim people, they actually robbed him and sold his son into a slave market. Anyway, we don't know the exact story. But her son was robbed, or her son was lost. And she was obviously worried. Sisters, if your son, 3-month-old son will be taken away. So she cried in front of the soldiers, Christian soldiers, what we should do. Christian soldiers told her to go to Salahuddin in his camp. Enemy's camp. He will help you. Can you imagine what is the trust which Christians had, crusaders had on Salahuddin? That he won't harm this woman even though she's from enemy. He won't harm this son even though it's an enemy son. Subhanallah. And then she went, she cried, she started weeping, looking at her, listening to the story. Even Salahuddin started crying. And then Salahuddin said to his Muslim army, go and find his son. They eventually found his son, her son. They brought the son, and then she nursed the son in the camp of Salahuddin. And then how she will go back during the battle to the Crusaders' army. Salahuddin said, take my horse and take this lady with the son and drop her to the Crusaders' camp. This story is narrated by Western historian. And West would remember Salahuddin as Salahuddin, as the most courageous. They don't see as a courageous from a Muslim mujahid perspective. They would see this as compassion, kind perspective. But either way, it's a win-win situation for us, subhanAllah. We don't kill kids in the battle. That's not our rule. We abide by the rules of the game. You are breaking your rules, first of all, if you have any rules. You don't have any rules. But if there is any, you are breaking your rules all the time. So this is, in short, the story of Salahuddin Ayyubi. How he passed away. After the third battle, they had a peace treaty. Crusaders left. Jerusalem was with Salahuddin. He went to Damascus, and within few months, by the way, Salahuddin, he always had the wish to perform Hajj. He never performed Hajj. Never. Salahuddin never performed Hajj. Because he never got free from this entire Jerusalem freedom campaign. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So he passed away, he fell sick, he passed away when he was 55 years old. Just quickly, his conclusion. When he was buried in his grave, one of the scholars of that time, Al-Qadi Al-Fadil, when he was buried in his grave, he advised the people who were burying Salahuddin that put his sword in the grave. Because his sword was the reason for the pride of the Ummah. So actually he was buried with his sword. How much property was left behind Salahuddin? He was Sultan of the Ummah. He was very rich, by the way. What Salahuddin left? Any idea? Tell me what idea? 1 dinar and 47 dirham. No property, no house, no horse. Do we remember Salahuddin? Don't tell me I have 5 vacation homes and 10 Tesla. No one will remember you. if you didn't serve the ummah. Remember this. What's your legacy? What's my legacy? Remember this. Anyway, after he passed away, the same night, Al-Qadi Al-Fadil, the scholar, the friend, the mentor of Salahuddin, he saw a dream. And I will end with this, inshallah. He saw a dream. He saw, and Ibn Shaddad narrates, one of the most authentic narrator of Salahuddin's story. He said, Al-Qadi Al-Fadil saw in a dream on the same night that someone is telling Al-Qadi Al-Fadil that tonight Yusuf left the prison. Yusuf left the prison. And Al-Qadi Al-Fadil said, this is basically the hadith which says that dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. Dunya is the prison of believers and jannatul kafir. So when Yusuf Salahuddin, he left the prison, it means he's done with his responsibility. Subhanallah. Do we wish to have this happy ending? If we do, then my question to you is, what are we learning from this? First, subhanAllah, just give me 5 minutes, I will end this, inshallah. Now I will try to make it relevant. What is my legacy and what is your legacy? That's the first thing we need to discuss. What are we trying to achieve with our life and our goals? If we want to make modern day Salahuddin Ayyubi, then we need to ask our few things. First, I told you Jerusalem was not freed by Salahuddin alone. It was struggles of many scholars and people came before Salahuddin. Salahuddin was one of the product of those movements. If you ask, where is Salahuddin today? Then my question to you is, where is the father like Najmuddin? Tell me, who can raise kids like Salahuddin? If you ask me, where is Salahuddin today? Then I will ask you, where is the mentor like Nuruddin, who can mentor kids like Salahuddin? If you ask me, where is Salahuddin? I will ask you, where is madaris like Nizamul Mulk and Madrasa Nizamiya, who can create help for ideological unity? Now we have madaris, seminaries, who are dividing our ummah. Unfortunately, my flavor of Islam is better than your flavor of Islam. That's the message which our young people are getting from influencers and from some of the seminaries. Where are those seminaries? Where are those Islamic madaris? Once you have this movement, then you don't need Salahuddin. You know why? Because this movement will produce gems which produce gems like Salahuddin back in the days. Start those movements. Become part of the movements who want to do something. Unite the ummah, and then you will see dozens of people like Nuruddin, Imaduddin, Salahuddin will going to come, inshallah, within Muslim. Don't wait for Imam Mahdi. Imam Mahdi will come when he will going to come. Salahuddin did not say, oh, I'm not conquering Jerusalem because Imam Mahdi will going to come. He said, I will going to take things in my hand, and he did it. Don't wait for figures. If they will come, inshallah, we believe that we have to help them and we have to be in their, we have to be their supporter. But we have to be active in our community to basically take our narrative back. Second thing, unity of the ummah. This is extremely important. This is very important. Unity of the ummah is not on Arab nationalism. Remember this. Unity of the ummah is Allah-centric unity. Who wants to come back to Allah? Let's get united. We don't want to have a fake concept of unity. Whoever is sincere with Allah and His Messenger, that will be my brother or sister, whichever ethnicity you are living from. This concept of unity will redefine unity, because the unity of the ummah is founded on unity of belief. Third thing, and this is, I would say, the second last thing, is that think tanks in community, intelligent scholars, mover and shakers in Western community have to work together. And we need to sit together in a room and we need to ask these few things. First, who is our common enemy? Is Ashaira, Asari, Hanafi, Ahlul Hadith, Devbandi, Salafi, are they our common enemy? I don't think so. Ask yourself, who is our common enemy? Second, how we prepare ourselves to meet the challenges. That's the second thing we need to discuss. Third, why does our ummah have such a careless attitude towards this danger which is threatening our existence, aka colonialism? Still that's going on. Why we are so careless? Why we are not making some strategy unity which reflects our unity? And the final thing, we have to revive the Islamic concept, and why Orientalists are basically abusing the terminology of jihad. Let's finish with this, inshallah. Did you see they labeled the action immediately as Islamic Jihad last week? Immediately. The Israeli Prime Minister, President, whoever it is, he tweeted, it's Islamic Jihad, immediately. And the entire world is saying you have a right to defend yourself because it's a fact that Orientalists, the people who criticize the textual basis of religion, including Islam, they want to demonize the concept of jihad. And once you demonize, then you can do whatever you want. You can equate jihad with terrorism, and then Muslims will be afraid to use this word. Even if you want to defend yourself, no, this is jihad, so you cannot even defend yourself. Do you know now this entire idea of demonizing term? This is very common. Why they would do this? Because they want, first of all, Muslims to become a cattle, to become a dog, so that we cannot stand on our feet. What we need to do, we need to revisit all these things from a unity standpoint, and then inshallah, hopefully we can get more Salahuddin, inshallah, in our community, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. I rushed into last 30 minutes. I missed many things. I'll complete these things in the Sunday class, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. If I have, by the way, class is over. If you have any questions, if I know how to answer, I will answer, inshallah, through QR code. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Wa iyyakum.
Let's wait like 2 minutes.
Okay. Wayak. Oh, I mean, may Allah accept. Wallahi, may Allah accept. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa iyyak.
I have one question. So, means you, with the given time, like you said you skipped many times. So, like, how can I get those parts also?
Sunday from 9 to 10 we'll discuss. This Sunday from 9 to 10 here. We have a class.
Okay, so we have
Just give me a minute. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The remaining part, if you want to come Sunday from 9 to 10 here in IANT, Sunday from 9 to 10 this Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., we'll be reviewing the remaining part. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hayyakumullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakumullah khair. Allah ta'ala qabul farmaye. The question is, let me, just give me a minute, inshallah. The question is, Muslim army so strong today, how can we raise awareness for them to move and liberate Palestine? We don't see anyone discussing this angle to resolve the issue. I would respectfully disagree that Muslim army is so strong today, this first phrase, because we have a defeatist mentality. So we'll discuss about this, inshallah, maybe on Sunday, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.